Well, when I went to school, one of our lessons was craft or sewing.
On exchange to India for my degree, and as a part of that I had to convince both my Melbourne uni and the uni in India that I already knew how to throw.
Wandering into the Stitches and Crafts show at Caulfield Racecast on Thursday, I shouldn't have been surprised that I was possibly the youngest person there. As a young person, something caught my eye, or should I say the lack of something caught my eye. In amongst all of the beautiful handmade items and myriad of craft materials, I could not see Instagram's logo anywhere. The best that I saw was a small sheet that said "Find us on Facebook." Whilst I know the audience and the producers of this particular show aren't the type to be avid Instagram posters or even users, it got me thinking about the ways that people of my generation and the generations before me share our crafty endeavours. Talking to other creators of different generations, I began to look into what was done and what was being done to show off their gorgeous creations.
So during my degree I worked in specialty coffee for 3 years, and because I had contacts in that industry and had an understanding of the way they work, they also understood what I was working on the whole time, and it was, I think, quite a long time to be with the same company, so almost as a natural progression they needed somebody to start doing work for them, and that was me.
When I went to school, one of our lessons was craft or sewing, and that's when I first started sewing, and we learnt how to do little bits and pieces and all different types of works, like doing buttonholes, how many different kinds of buttonholes there were, how many different kinds of seams there were about 3 or 4 different kinds of seams, and we put all this into a little sample book. And then alongside the samples we would write up what it meant and all that. Now I kept that book for years, but that book was what got me my first job. I took it with me to my first interview, and there was an advert in the paper those years ago for a junior at Athorns in Flinders Lane. And I went in there with my book and I showed the head woman my book, and she took me on.
The reason that I got the smartphone was that somebody gave me some amazing advice, which was that if I got an Instagram account, regardless of what I was presenting to others, it would become a really good way to create an archive of the work that I was doing. So it started out as that, and in turn it became quite normal for me to try and document work. And I think also documenting the work that you're doing in any creative industry is super important, especially when something has a visual nature to it. Social media seems to be really important to those businesses.
I got married, came up here, and I thought it was very sparse up here in Ferntree Gully, so how am I going to get work? So what I did, actually when I first did, I transferred up and was doing schoolwear, and I was actually working with a schoolwear manufacturer up here because it was close to home. So then when I was expecting my first child, I thought, well, I could work from home, but how am I going to do that? So the easiest thing was to have the phone connected and to put my name in the yellow pages under a dressmaker. From then on, I never looked back because there was nobody up here in this area. So the work just came in.
I think social media has helped me in the sense that it is a really big community. Half of the people in Melbourne are using ceramics as a side project at the moment. There's a wealth of people and knowledge involved in it, and it's a really positive way to learn how to document your processes and objects in a visually appealing way.
And what you do find, I think, when you're young, it's very hard to get work because people look at you as young and can you do this? But once you've made a garment for them and they can see that you know what talking about, and they see how well it's made, then that's when you progress, because word of mouth gets on. Go to this girl, she's good.